What is going on, everyone? I'm just going to get everything set up here, and then we'll get started. Give me 1 second, and we're going to get rolling. I'm just checking to make sure everything is set. Make sure my audio is good. Checking to make sure. All right, audio is good. All right, now, the part I struggle with all the time is making sure I get the charts to come up here. So give me 1 second to do this. And what a day, guys. What a last 4 days. What a last 4 days that it's been in the market here. Let me see if I share my window, if that's going to work. Give me 1 second. I don't know why this is always such a pain in the butt for me. Hold on. Bear with me here. Share window. There we go. All right. I think we're good. Let me full screen. Hey, there we are. All right. So, welcome everybody to the Wednesday War Room. We are going to take a look at the charts and see where we stand, what's going on here in the markets. It is a beautiful day. And I just want to start by saying to everyone out there, happy Thanksgiving from my family to your family, from Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. And I hope you guys have a phenomenal holiday. You get time to relax with your family and friends and take some time off from the markets. And again, like I said, what a day that it's been here. We're going to start with the SPX chart and just talk about what we've seen here since we last met last Wednesday for the War Room. And you could see we were in that short-term downtrend, and we had NVDA earnings coming up, and they crushed it. But what happened after that huge pop up higher, we had that massive sell down from the top of that wick to the bottom of that wick. It was a 236-point red day. Everybody was freaking out. But knowing that the markets were overextended and that they needed some rest, a little bit of a break, it was good to see that actually come into the markets. And we touched that 100-day simple moving average, which ended up being a bouncing spot, at least for now. And just looking at the total dip at that point, it was about 5.76%. So it wasn't a full 10% correction, but it was much needed in the markets. And you could see that last Friday, we actually dipped below dipped below the 100 SMA and actually got below the 100 EMA. And then buyer stepped in, pushed this up. I didn't like that upper wick that came in, but you could see Monday, Tuesday, and today we are in the green. Now, typically the week of Thanksgiving, holiday weeks, you have lower volume, which lends the market to be somewhat manipulated, higher or lower. It doesn't take as many orders to do that. And so we'll have to see here at the end of the week how this plays out. Remember, we're going to be closed tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And on Friday, we'll have a shortened trading day. I believe it shuts down at 1 or 1:30. But you can just see right now, what I was watching for was this to see if we were going to get a head and shoulders pattern that played out here. And what I was watching was the height of the left shoulder here to see if we can get above that, a close above that. And today we are. So that's actually a good sign in terms of structure that it's able to get above it. Again, we have a long ways to go before this market closes. But if you are a bull, this is a good sign. And what we want to watch over the next few days into next week is the top of this candle here from November 12th. If we could close above that, and then potentially this squeeze to 7,000 will be on. So definitely watching that to see if that happens. If we go take a look at the Qs, kind of the same concept here. We did get above the left shoulder of a potential head and shoulders pattern. We're above it now. Thin volume above, but still a lot of work to do for this one to push higher. The Dow Jones Industrial, same concept. We invalidated, for now, a head and shoulders pattern. The bulls have to keep pressing, but you could see you're going to have to contend with this big bearish candle here, but we have thin volume above. So this one should continue to push as well. And then let's take a look at IWM. Got below that 100, nearly got to the 200 EMA on the daily, and is above this point of control here on the VRVP, these large volume nodes. So charts are looking bullish for right now. Let's see if that continues to hold. And the one that I was watching very closely and continue to watch very closely is Bitcoin, because in order for this market to really rally into year end, risk has to come back on to Bitcoin. And you can see just from its all-time high that it made here October 6th, if we just measure down to the low, 36%. That's bear market territory. And what we need to see now is it has to close above that 10-day exponential moving average. Because if not, potentially what is coming into play here is a bear flag and we come lower. So again, strength out there in the markets today doesn't mean that the bulls are out of the woods here by any stretch. They have to close this with strength. And if they do, then potentially we could get a year-end rally. So I'm going to look at some individual tickers. If you have charts that you want me to look at for you, go ahead and throw those in the chat, and we will do some analysis for you. So just going to start here by going through the Mag 9. Let me get these lines off my chart. But Tesla came down, filled this gap here from September 12th, which was good to see. And you got a nice little double bottom that came in nearly off of that 100 simple day moving average. We were above the 10. We were above the 50 and the 20 EMAs. And the only thing above us at this point is the point of control and that 50-day simple moving average. You can see a lot of thick volume nodes here on the VRVP. So it's got a lot to contend with to get above that. But if it could break above this neckline here of this double bottom 428.96, Tesla definitely has room to run. Netflix, this is one I took a trade on today. I actually traded it last Friday. That did not work out too well. That was a losing trade for me, and I attempted it again today. And I ended up belling early, taking just a small gain on it because it just kept ranging. And every time that it tried to break out, it couldn't hold the strength. You could see clear resistance up here in that 106.80 spot. So I got out of this one, locked in my gains, and just moved on. But Netflix has been beaten up pretty good. And just looking here on the daily, you can see that we are below the 200 for the first time since October of 2023. And you could see what happened after that. So eventually Netflix will get running. Let's just measure out how far this has dropped from its all-time highs, 22.95%, which isn't huge. So this one could come lower and consolidate below the 200 before it wants to get moving again. Let's just take a look at a few others here. Amazon. Let's go through the Mag 9. Again, that huge pop on earnings after just being a laggard, double topped, came down, found some support off that 200, and is now back above nearly all of its moving averages. Right now, it's being held down by that 20 EMA on the daily. It's going to have to get above that to start running again. But who knows if it's going to do that. Oh, and we have a recommendation here for chart analysis. Zoe, how are you? I'm so glad you were here. Happy holidays to you as well. Let's go look at SoFi. Absolutely. SoFi. I know I have it here on my chart. Yeah, let's take a look at SoFi. So this one was just ripping here. It made, let me see if this is an all-time high. Yes, we got an all-time high here on SoFi at 32.70. And you could see at that point, that's when the market weakness started coming in. It got a nice little retracement. Let's measure that out down to its lows, about 28%. But again, it recovered, went below that 100-day simple moving average, and is now back above all of its moving averages and really the thickest volume nodes on the VRVP. So there could be some opportunity here for this one to push back up. You would just want to watch these recent highs that it put in. We go back to this high from the 22nd of September up there at 30.33. And you just want to see how it interacts with that price level. If it gets rejected and comes back down. And then if you can clear that, then you could start looking at the all-time highs up here in the $32 range. But it's definitely showing some strength. Let's see how this candle closes today. You do have a little bit of an upper wick coming in right now, but it is only 1:38 p.m. Eastern time. There's a lot of time to go before this one finishes out. But it did have a nice little dip there. We'll see if it can continue pushing. Let's see if we get a rally into year end. But it doesn't look too shabby at this point. Let's go check out Apple. So Apple, new all-time high made yesterday up here at 280.20. And this trend line has been serving as a very nice bouncing spot for Apple. And this really started back in September. You can see it came down. This is the start of the trend line, bounced, came down, retested that trend line in October, bounced, came back down, retested it on the market weakness, and now we are pushing back up. You would think at some point in time, we're going to see some rotation out of Apple, out of Google, out of these big tickers that have been running, and see some flows into Meta, which we have been seeing a little bit. But for right now, Apple is continuing to show strength. Zoe, you are very welcome. I appreciate you joining the live stream. Let's take a look at Broadcom. Broadcom was putting in a head and shoulders, but it invalidated that structure and has broken out and is almost at $400. I thought that there was a chance that it would come down and fill this gap. The bull said, no way, it's pushing higher. And interestingly enough, watching that, we're seeing that NVIDIA has cooled off for a bit after its earnings report. You can see that big candle that came in the day after earnings. And you do have a head and shoulders pattern here. And really, if this thing comes lower, that's a gift. It did get down to 169, which is a pretty good value for NVIDIA in these markets. And I'm sure some people bought and captured just a quick move off of a swing trade, maybe even some day trades here for a push higher. But I would like to see it come lower. We do have a gap to fill down here between 148 and 149.17. That would really put some downside pressure on the markets. I don't know if it's going to get there, but NVIDIA did take some bit of a beating there after earnings. And let's take a look at Goog, the Googster. This thing just pushes higher, made a new all-time high, 329.11, and it really started running after Berkshire Hathaway announced a position that they have in Google over $11 billion. And what was interesting here is we saw Google push up and create this fair value gap, and it came down and filled that gap to the penny and started its blast. So congrats to anybody who captured this move. But again, I'm looking for Google, Apple to cool off a bit. They're cooling NVIDIA off right now, and let's see some flows into some other stocks like a Meta. Because this head and shoulders pattern played out nicely, came down. It did fill this gap here at 606.87, and we're finally getting some strength that's coming in to this chart. We are above the 20-day EMA, but you could still see there's quite a bit for this thing to move through overhead in terms of its moving averages, but it does have a lot of upside opportunity here. So I've been grabbing some shares as it's fallen. And we'll see if this one wants to run into the end of the year. Again, please, if you have any tickers you want me to look at, go ahead and throw those into the chat. And let's take a look at a few more here. Just trying to see. So Palantir, I know that this is a popular one. We had that big move off of earnings. It didn't hold. Michael Burry came out and said that AI is in the bubble. And you could see the big drop that we had, nearly down to August 2025 support, but still well off of its highs up here from 207 down to 147. That was a 28% drop. And now it's trying to recover, come back a little bit above this volume node, the point of control. What would be nice to see another little retest of that POC and then push up. And then you have a clear target up there to 178.43. So let's see if Palantir can get moving here at some point. And then SoundHound, I know this is a favorite of viewers of the channel. This thing was running along with all other small caps. It got up to 22.16 in October, but then it had this cascade down. And this one, I think, dropped, almost 54%, 53.33%, getting a little bit of a double bottom pattern playing out here. we're below the 200. And so it does have quite a bit of a work for it before it can start doing anything. So watching Soundhound to see what it is able to do and if it can get off of the mat. And then you have Oracle. This thing, after that massive gap up on earnings, has just gotten absolutely pummeled. Let's measure this out from its highs to its lows. 46.21%, $159. Just absolutely smoked. But you did have some buyers who stepped in, showing a little bit of strength today, but again, still below all those moving averages, below the 200. Let's see if this can make a push into the end of the day, or if it's going to give up its gains. You do have a gap to fill down here at 199.48. Let's see if it wants to come down and retest that before moving higher. But as of right now, still looking pretty weak. You know, nothing good happens below that 200. And let's see here. If I don't have any other requests, I'm just going to look at a few more charts and then we'll hop off. So UNH is another one. It did put in this inverse head and shoulders pattern. It's a little funky looking, and it did show some strength here on, what day was this? The 12th of November, but it's come down, made a lower low. So this is a higher low, lower low, double bottom. It is now trying to push. You could see it was above its 50-day EMA here today, but has since sold down a little bit. And you do have that 50 SMA above. So this one's worth watching. I'm interested to see what it's going to do over the next couple of weeks into the end of the year, because it is so far off of its all-time highs, up at, what was the price point on this one? 632.07. So definitely lots of room there for this guy. And then finally, what's one last one that we want to look at? Let's take a look at, who do we want to check out? Let me see, Microsoft. We didn't look at Microsoft today. So this massive double top pattern here, it has played out nicely down to the 200, where you do have some buyers stepping in. We do have lots of lower wicks on that 200. So buyers are interested. We gapped up today, found some resistance in that 10-day exponential moving average. So we'll see what it's going to do from here. So we're seeing a nice response by the bulls, but you could see that a lot of the charts are still kind of stuck below resistances, and there's still lots of work to do. There's still plenty of day left today for this move to either be given back or for the bulls to hold it and finish strong. And let's just come back over to the SPX here and wrap this live stream up. You know, since we started here, you could see that some selling has come in, and we are getting a bit of an upper wick here on this candle. What the bulls don't want to see here today is this sell back down and come into the high from this candle to really still keep the thesis alive about a head and shoulders on the SPX. So pay attention to the type of close that we get today, because that will give us an idea of where we potentially could be headed. And really, this enthusiasm that we've been getting here lately is because people are forecasting a rate cut now for December 10th. So let me mark this on your calendar, because this is how we'll close up today. So here's December 10th. This is going to be the Fed rate decision. We are also going to get the dot plot, which is going to forecast out all the rate cuts for the year, and we're going to get the Jerome Powell presser. This is going to be decision day for the markets for where we go. If the Fed is more hawkish in the rate cuts that they see in 2026, or if they don't cut, expect to come back down and at least retest that 100, or come down and get to the 200 and reset for a potential move higher in 2026. And the reason why this is critical, let's go back to last December 18th of 2024. This was when the December 24 Fed meeting was. They did cut rates in this meeting, but Jerome Powell was hawkish. They cut the number of forecasted rate cuts in 2025, and you saw a massive sell-off on that day to the tune of 203 points. So if you're looking for interim direction, and if you're looking for the next big catalyst for the markets, it is going to be right here, December 10th, and a lot is riding on it for where the market is going to go in the rest of the year. So there you have it. That is the Wednesday war room for today. If I could just ask a favor of you guys before you hop out, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please hop in there, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. I'm trying to build this channel up organically. I love what I do and putting this out there. That's why I share it with everyone. Drop a comment on the video. That helps. Like, share it with your family and friends. Watch more videos, help me get more watch time. It means so much to me, and I'm grateful for all of you who are here today watching. So happy Thanksgiving. I genuinely mean that for all of you. I hope it is an amazing holiday. Take the time to be present with your family and friends. Enjoy it. We are so blessed in this world, and let's make sure that we take the time to recognize and appreciate that. So thanks for joining me here today. And as always, make it a great day. Honor the moment and be grateful. Everyone, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.